Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Accolonn here, and welcome back to each and one of you. Today, we're going to be discussing the Void. And you might be thinking to yourself, Accolonn dealt with the Void, bro. Ny'alotha's dead. Yes, Ny'alotha is dead. But what if I told you that everything that we have done so far have been whispered about? Everything we have done so far was part of the plan. We did not step out of the plan. In fact, we've been doing exactly what the Void have wanted us to do. What if I told you that the Void is absolutely linked to the Dragon Isles, and that the dragons themselves have a measurement of Void power linked to them? You might be saying, Accolonn, yeah, if you could tell me all of those things, I might believe you. But you can't tell me all of those things because they're clearly not true. Well, if I convince you by the end of this video, if you think there's even a slither of a chance that I'm correct, I want you to hit the like button at the end of the video. If not, if you go right at the end of the video, you go, yeah, Accolonn, that's bullshit, you can hit the dislike button. Deal? Strap in, boys. Remember, you can be one of the cool people on the screen right now by clicking the link and becoming a patron, literally just in the description down below, or join us live over on Twitch. It's better when it's live, always. Anyways, let's get into it. So first and foremost, we have to talk about the Old Gods and the Old Gods' connection to the Shadowlands. Yesterday, I made a video, and you can find the link to that video in one of the corners of the screen. I think it's the top right-hand corner, must be there. But you can find a link to that video where I discussed quite in depth what could be within the Maw. Remember to watch that video after this one, because why not? It's always more fun that way. But okay, so there is something within the Maw, and that is going to be discussed later in this video as well, so stick around for that. But for now, I just want to prove to you and show you how the Void is very much connected, not necessarily to the whole of the Shadowlands, but very much connected to the Maw. So the first whisper, the very first whisper that I want you to focus on, that I want you to know about, is a whisper from Ny'alotha. And Ny'alotha has the following to say: another seed of corruption planted in death. An unquiet spirit will wander in anger and grow in pain. Easy prey for the god of the deep. It's an interesting phrasing, right? Another seed of corruption planted in death. Everything we know about the Shadowlands suggests that when the Kyrians pick up these souls, the corruption does not come with it. The corruption seems to stay behind. Maybe the Kyrians cleanse those souls before bringing it into the soul stream, but we've seen no evidence within the Shadowlands of souls being corrupted by the Void. We've seen no mad souls within the Void. Of course, we have, though. We've seen the Devourers. The Devourers were originally servants of the Shadowlands, meant to keep things in balance, and something have driven them mad. If you don't know that part of the lore, it's actually quite interesting, but very short, because ultimately you have these beings that were created as servants, and then eventually was driven to madness. Of course, one whisper does not a theory make, and therefore we have to dive a little bit deeper, and this time we go to the fan favorite, at least in my opinion, it should be a fan favorite, the Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron. In the Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron, now reading it again after the Shadowlands, it becomes a lot more clear what Yogg-Saron was ultimately referring to. So the first whisper from Yogg-Saron: the silent, sleeping, staring houses in the backwoods always dream. It would be merciful to tear them down. Very next whisper: even death may die. Why this infatuation with death? Yogg-Saron calls himself the god of death. What is this this infatuation with it? We've seen death. We also know that Zovaal referred to himself as death. Of course, we think he was referring to himself. If you think back to the cinematic, and hopefully Alex will have the cinematic play here, but Zovaal states that they will learn you cannot chain death. Now, everyone assumes that he was only merely speaking about himself. And I would be poised to agree with you there. It makes the most sense that he is speaking about himself. But what if he isn't? What if he himself isn't death? What if death is something else, something much larger? It goes on to say, in the puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron, all places, all things have souls. All souls can be devoured. We now know that to be true. We've seen it within the Shadowlands. What is it that Wraith does, if not devour the soul, tap it of anima? In the land of Ny'alotha, there is only sleep. In the sleeping city of Ny'alotha walk only mad things. Ny'alotha is a city of old, terrible, unnumbered crimes. Take those 3 whispers. Just those 3. In Ny'alotha there is only sleep. In Ny'alotha walk only mad things. And Ny'alotha is a city of old, terrible, unnumbered crimes. How is that not the Maw? In the Maw there is only sleep. It is the land of death. Sleep is another word. It's a synonym for death. More often than not, used in fantasy tropes like this one. Mad Things, literally the first quest we get in the Maw during the prologue of the Shadowlands episode, or the Shadowlands expansion, we meet souls that are mad. In fact, we need the Death Knights to extract the information from them because they're crazy. The souls there basically absorb one another as they go more and more crazy. And then it goes on to say, Ny'alotha is a city of old, terrible, unnumbered crimes. Who goes to the Maw? Zovaal, old, terrible, unnumbered crimes. In fact, we don't even know what his crimes were. Every single irredeemable soul within the universe. How was he not describing the Maw? He speaks about the sleeping city. He speaks about Ny'alotha as if Ny'alotha is a place that exists, a place that still exists, a place that have always existed. However, when N'Zoth finally breaks free from his prison, we see N'Zoth bring back portions of the old god empire, but there is no city. There are no massive structures being erected. The city of the Black Empire on Azeroth was destroyed, so it no longer exists, at least not in our dimension. The way Yogg-Saron, N'Zoth, and Xal'atath speak of the city, it is a city that exists. If you look at the Maw, it is a city that used to exist. It is broken apart, it is destroyed, but it very much was a city. There is evidence of buildings all around you. In fact, it appears like a capital of some sort. Xal'atath makes numerous mentions of the incredible structures that exist within Ny'alotha. The puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron literally speaks, beneath the shadow of the darkened spire, there is no light, no mercy, only void, and the chaos within. Now, I'm sorry. Am I the only one hearing this? And, you know, if you listen to this and you're going, Accolonn, just because it sounds similar, it's not the same, let me know in the comment section down below. But listening to this, the chaos within, that's literally Torghast, by the way. Torghast is a giant tower, and yes, all things below it, there is no light, there is no mercy, there is only the chaos within. How can it not be? The giant rook watches from the dead trees. Nothing breathes beneath its shadow. I'm beneath his shadow. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong about this. But I mean, it goes on. The tortured spirits of your ancestors cling to you, screaming in silence. Apparently, they are quite numerous. All of these whispers, or at least 80% of these whispers, have to do with death. It has to do with souls, with soul magic, with things that technically should not be part of the old gods. Remember, they are part of the void, where nothing exists. That's not death. That's nothingness. Death is supposed to be its own cosmological power, its own cosmological thing, and yet, according to these whispers, there's more to it. But it goes much deeper than that. It goes so much deeper than that. If we consider and we go back to Xal'atath's whispers, Xal'atath says the following: a powerful dragon could be a powerful tool. Alas, gone are the days of Accolonn. This suggests that the old gods not only has some kind of finger in the pie of death, but they also have a finger in the pie of the dragons. Xal'atath goes on to speak about Nalfarian, and how he was the most powerful of all of them, but yet the easiest for them to corrupt. Easiest for them to corrupt does not mean that the others are without corruption. If Accolonn indeed had some kind, and the whisper of Xal'atath here suggests that Accolonn was their first servant. Remember, we don't know. We don't know. According to the Titans, Accolonn got as big as he was because he ate his own brothers. That's it. That's their explanation for it. Of course, I believe the Titans are lying too, and they're sort of hiding things in its own right, but, you know, that's besides the point. The Void very much had a hand in the dragons. More importantly, remember Yogg-Saron. Even death may die. If we move on the belief that Zovaal was death, that he spoke about himself as death, and we know that he was the original arbiter, which would make him death. If we believe that, then the old gods predicted his death. They knew that it was coming. Even death may die. Zovaal tells us that us defeating him is actually not great. It's another step towards our own destruction, as he was trying to save us from something else, something far greater. Now, let's think about this for a while. How did Zovaal try to save us? What was Zovaal's plan in saving us? He wanted to dominate the universe, right? That's what he wanted to do. Why would you want to do that? Well, to my mind, dominated servants, a dominated universe would be incorruptible by the void. Because you're already dominated. We've seen what happens to the Scourge in Northrend. While Yogg-Saron certainly had the power to drive them mad, they never truly became corrupted. They would always still heed the Master's call. Remember, at that point, though, Zovaal was kind of working with a handicap. He was trying to extend his influence on Azeroth through a conduit. Zovaal's ultimate plan was to extend his influence over the Great Beyond through the conduit, through the very engine that creates all reality. If he succeeded, it would cause the void to be, well, null and void, right? They would have no power, no sway, because their whispers would penetrate no minds. Because ultimately, the only mind, the only voice that everyone in the universe would be looking to is that of Zovaal. You see my problem with the fall of Zovaal, and I realize that most of you might think, but Accolonn, is this video about Zovaal? And not quite, but we'll get to the actuality of it in a minute. My issue with Zovaal, the question that keeps coming up, the more I think about it, is why? Why would the Arbiter of the Shadowlands, a noble creature doing a noble duty for which he was made, by the way, why would he turn against his own brothers? Why would he turn against his own kin, against his own mission, against his own creators, and ultimately decide to destroy all of it? It has to be something big. For Sargeras, we know exactly what that was. It was the threat of the Void. When Sargeras saw what the Void Lords and the Old Gods can do to a planet, it scared him. What if Zovaal didn't just see what the Void can do to a planet? What if Zovaal came face to face with Ny'alotha itself, with the power of the Old Gods seeping into the Shadowlands itself? Now, I told you yesterday's video, I sort of touched on this. We'll get into it again. Just a quick recap for those of you that haven't seen the video. I believe the Maw sat at the center of the Shadowlands. I believe that all of the other zones connected to the Maw. The Maw was the original landing place for all souls. Perhaps not even called the Maw at the time. It was the seat of power for Zovaal. From here, he would direct the flow of the souls of mortals. Rivers of souls flowing to every zone within the Shadowlands. It makes sense. The natural direction of the soul stream is to the Maw. Which makes no sense. Why? Yes, I get that Oribos is dying and Oribos is dead and the original Arbiter wasn't alive, or at least wasn't functioning. But why would the souls just naturally flow to the Maw? Unless, of course, that was their natural flow from the beginning, right? That's where they naturally ended up. So why would they abandon it? Yesterday I told you that Yogg-Saron sat where the Maelstrom is today. We know that the Maelstrom persists through every single dimension in the universe. Every timeline, every dimension has a Maelstrom. Where they ripped Yogg-Saron out of Azeroth, it created a ripple, a tear, throughout all reality. This would include the Shadowlands, as the Shadowlands is just another dimension. But what if it wasn't the ripping out of Yogg-Saron that caused this tear? What if it was the power of Azeroth? Remember, the Titans suggest that Azeroth is the most powerful Titan they have ever encountered. A Titan with the power to exist in all realities, perhaps? In all dimensions? That would make sense. That would make this Titan quite powerful. And what if Yogg-Saron, by landing at the very point where all ley lines of Azeroth connects, all of her power concentrates itself, what if that gave him access to all realities? To all dimensions? And if my theory about the Void is correct, then if one old god can do it, all of the old gods can do it. They share information. It is more of a hive mind, so to speak. This would mean that while the Titans, yes, that rip Yogg-Saron out of the planet Azeroth, they have not removed Yogg-Saron from all dimensions. What if that's why the Maw had to be removed, had to be isolated? What if that's why there is a maximum security prison within a maximum security prison? Now, you can watch the full video of yesterday's video if you want to know exactly what my theories are there. There will be a link, like I said, in one of the corners, I think the top right-hand corner. We just killed the Jailer. And we made this inescapable prison fully escapable. It's still escapable. We didn't change anything. We just repaired the rift. so to speak. And we killed the jailer. Whatever it was jailing, whatever Zovaal was watching over, it's dead now. So what exactly is about to happen there? What exactly is coming? Final whisper, and there are many whispers, but I didn't want to just turn this into a let's read all the whispers. Almost completely gone, as if it never existed. But the rift is deep and vast, and somewhere down there it stirs. Something has changed. The last prison weakens. We must prepare. Now, we all assumed that this speaks purely of N'Zoth. That it is N'Zoth's prison that is weakening. But Ny'alotha spoke about N'Zoth's prison weakening multiple times. In fact, there are about 4 whispers all throughout the entirety of Legion where Ny'alotha speaks about N'Zoth's prisons, where it's weakening and all sorts of shit is happening to it. So, why a game? Well, what if she wasn't speaking about N'Zoth's prison? What if she was speaking about the ultimate prison? The maximum security prison? The one that no matter what, the old god trapped within it cannot escape. But we did. We went in there multiple times, defeating countless souls, countless enemies of the jailer. What if we showed this old god how to escape? I mean, it would be apt if after all this time, if after the entirety of World of Warcraft, much of what we've done have led to our penultimate defeat. Because every expansion we win, every expansion we manage to defeat the enemy, defeat the bad guys. But what if Blizzard really is building up to this penultimate moment? This moment where we realize that everything we had done had played to the Master's tune. The Void. The Void, by the way, speaks of death. Ny'alotha states in one of her whispers, he wishes to unmake all things, as if that could stop the Void. She laughs at him. This is a servant of Sargeras, by the way. She laughs at him. She thinks it's funny. You want to send everything to death, as if that could stop us. Ny'alotha herself states that this is another soul, another seed of corruption planted within death. We know that the Void attacked the Shadowlands. We saw the evidence in Bastion. Now we're heading to the Dragon House, and Ny'alotha states that Accolonn was one of their servants. Do you truly believe that we're done with the Void? Do you truly believe that we had defeated the old gods? Or is it more plausible that the one true old god lies within them all, within the very heart of the maximum security prison known as Torghast? And what if us defeating the old gods on Azeroth sent their souls back to the source, back to Y'Saraj? So Y'Saraj have been growing in strength within the ancient city of Ny'alotha the more. I mean, I don't know if this is true. It would be cool if it was, but I don't know. You'd have to let me know in the comment section down below if you agree with anything I just said, all of the madness and craziness of this theory. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I would. So please let me know in the comment section. Remember to hit the like button if I convinced you, the dislike button if I didn't, or if you just want to hit the like button or the dislike button for whatever purpose, that is also okay. You can also, remember, follow this channel on Patreon if you want to support more closely and be one of the cool people with your name on the screen right now, or become a YouTube channel member. Most importantly, join us live over on Twitch because it is always better when it's live. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. As always, be kind to each other, be good to each other, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.